All right, so I think I will begin this next session with a quick introduction of the speakers you're going to hear from next. This panel is going to be especially interesting. None of the three presenters is currently a classroom teacher, but all of them are doing very interesting work related to education. So first we're going to hear from Willy Wood and Brod Bagert. As I understand it, Willy is a former classroom teacher and current educational consultant. And Brod is actually, Brod, am I saying that right? Brod?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, I didn't check that earlier. Brod is a professional poet. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
And you may proceed.
Okay, very good. My name is Willy Wood, and as you can see, the title of our session is How to Rock Your Classroom, Even If You Can't Play an Instrument or Sing. So let me do a couple of disclaimers first and a little background on why we are presenting. As Greg said, neither one of us are directly STEM teachers. I was an English teacher for 14 years. I've been an educational consultant for 16 years. But one of my main areas of interest is the human brain and how it learns most effectively. One of the kind of sidelines in that area that I got into was how we can use music for a variety of purposes for both classroom management purposes and also to teach content. And so that's kind of how I got into this area. And Brod will tell you more about himself in a minute, but being a professional poet, obviously language arts is the main area he comes from, but he also has written, as he'll tell you, many poems about science for teachers of all different grade levels. So we're not directly STEM teachers, but we both kind of dabble in the areas that are of interest to this conference. My other disclaimer is that this session is going to be, I guess you would say, more basic. I saw the end of the session before us and the wonderful music videos that the math teachers were doing there. This session is more, and this is the way I pitched it to Greg, this session is more for teachers who don't feel so comfortable going all the way out there and doing a music video to use with their classes. The teachers who are more at the basic level, I'd like to use this. I have a good idea that it would work, but I'm not sure how to write lyrics for a song. I'm not sure what kind of music to use. I'm not a musician. So this session is really more for those people. And so what we're going to do is kind of start basic, talk a little bit about why using music in the classroom for content works and how it works. And then Brod is going to take you through an example of a poem that he's written and kind of the process that you can use to write your own songs for the classroom. So having said that, quick introduction for me. Again, I was 14 years as a classroom teacher, 16 years as an educational consultant. I co-authored a book with Rich Allen called The Rock and Roll Classroom, Using Music to Manage Mood, Energy, and Learning. And you also see my presentations website there. So Brod, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brod Bagert. I'm mostly a children's poet, but I have, I think, 19 books of poetry, 5 for adults and the rest for children. I've specifically been writing poems, monologues, dialogues, and plays that teach science for about 15 years now, most of which is not yet published, but I send them out to teachers for free. You'll see how to sign up for that. It doesn't cost you anything. You won't get spammed. These are all heavy content science poems, plays, monologues, and dialogues, and easily, as you'll see, converted to songs. Probably 250 of them at this point that are available to you guys in a really rich content. If Willy talks about content lyrics at level 1, 2, and 3. These are all level 2 and 3 content. So looking forward to talking to you about how to use that stuff.
All right. Thank you, Brod. So let's just run through real quickly some background on basic background on using music to teach content. Songs obviously have been used to carry content for thousands of years, way back to primitive pre-literate societies where they share the history of the tribe and make it memorable so it can be passed down through the generations. It was used in the Middle Ages. We had traveling bards who went around Europe and shared the important events of the time, stories of national heroes and so on with the people of the town so they could stay caught up on that. And even today, especially with young kids, we use songs with embedded content all the time, such as the alphabet song sung to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, which every kid in this country learns. But it seems like as kids get older in school, we stop using songs. We don't use them nearly as much, which I think is a shame. So this is something that's been going on for thousands of years, literally. And so intuitively, we all know from experience that it works to embed content in songs. It works to help them, make them more memorable so people can retain that content. So the question for a lot of people is, the people who want to dig a little deeper is, how does it work? So I'll share just some of the basics of that. I won't get too deep into it, but here's the basic explanation. I do a lot with research on memory and share that in my brain workshops. Songs embed, one metaphor you might use for it is songs embed multiple hooks that make the initial encoding of the material more robust. So on the front end, as you're learning the material, you're making that learning more rich. And then on the back end, that robust encoding gives us multiple ways to retrieve the information when we need to bring it back up. So for example, just to explain a little bit better what I mean, content delivered traditionally is just semantic content. So let's say a teacher gives a lecture and talks about certain facts and ideas. If students only hear that through a lecture mode, or only watch it in a video, or only listen to it in a podcast, but they only hear the words, it's very hard to retain that information. The human brain is not very good at retaining semantic content unless it's made more rich in some way. So think about what songs do that's similar or different. Songs can be written to carry semantic content, the same facts and ideas, although it's much harder to put a lot of content into a song than it is into a lecture, obviously. So you want to save your material for songs for the really key ideas. But what else do songs have that a lecture doesn't? One thing, they have a rhyme scheme. So if you forget what a particular piece of content is, if you can remember the rhyme scheme, maybe you remember the first line, ending word of a line in a couplet, and you can't remember the piece of information in the next line. That first rhyme can help you remember the next rhyming word that rhymes with it. And usually when you think of the rhyme, it will bring the rest of the content back to mind. So there's a little hook that you can help to bring the content back with. Another thing is the rhythm, the beat of the song. You have that to help you remember. So if there's a piece of information missing and it's right on a beat, then you can kind of play that tune back over in your head, and very often that piece of missing content will just come right back to you. And of course, there's the melody. So when you're learning a song with content in it, you're learning all of these things at the same time. It's a very rich encoding of the material. And when you go to try to remember it later on, you have all of these possible ways to try to remember it. You may just remember the words right off the bat, but if you don't, every word in those lyrics has a particular place in the song. It's somewhere in the rhyme scheme, it's somewhere in the rhythm, it's somewhere in the melodic line. And if you can just even hum that tune back to yourself and think of the words as you go, very often those things will help you bring the content back. So that's what makes it more memorable. Here's one little piece of research here. by Ginsburg and Sloboda, a 2007 study. And they asked people to try to learn a song that, 3 different conditions. One group tried to learn the tune first, and then the words, and then both together. Another group tried to learn the words first by themselves, and then the tune, and then both together. And a third group just tried to learn, they just learned the song, tune, and words all together at once. And what they found out was it was much more effective just to learn it all as a song to start from, right from the very beginning. So all of that was, all those hooks are embedded right in the initial encoding, and those people tended to remember the content a lot better. One last thing to add to this that makes songs more memorable is that they present the information more slowly. When you have a teacher talking, they may be going 90 miles an hour, giving you a lot of information, and you just can't soak it all up. Your working memory gets full, and you get overloaded. With a song, you have several things that slow it down. You have possibly a repeated chorus, which slows down the amount of information thrown at you at once. We tend to sing words more slowly than we talk them in the first place. There may be in a song an instrumental solo somewhere in there that halts the presentation of the words for a little while. And so all of these things add up to where it makes it more memorable. So let's talk about another key issue, and that is what kind of music should you use? So in the previous session, the math teachers were talking about, basically they were doing a lot of parodies where they took a well-known pop song and kind of matched their lyrics to those lyrics. What we're talking about here is kind of, again, more basic. If you're trying to think of, you're getting ready to try to write a song with lyrics that carry some content from your curriculum, and you want to come up with a tune, what would be the best kind of tune to use to write your lyrics to? So here's a few ideas. We say that it's highly recommended that you use a tune that's familiar to all the learners in the room. So everybody in the class needs to know it, because that makes the learning of the entire song and the words easier, as we'll get to in just a second. So what makes well, let me jump back here. Why is it easier to learn the song with the lyrics if you already know the tune? And that's because it reduces the cognitive load of the task. Just think, if you're trying to learn a brand new tune that you've never heard before and the words of the lyrics with the content in it at the same time, you're trying to learn 2 things at once. But if you already know the tune, you're just really learning the lyrics, and you're just matching them on top of that known tune. So it reduces the cognitive load of the task. So it's always better to start with a well-known tune. Another piece of research here, they took 5-year-old students and tried to get them to learn telephone numbers. The numbers were either spoken to them or sung to them with an unfamiliar tune, or sung to them using a familiar tune. And what they found was that the kids learned much faster and retained them much better if they learned the telephone number sung to them with a familiar tune. So that just kind of reinforces what we're talking about. Familiar tune, my best choice for a familiar tune would be songs learned almost universally in a culture, especially if they're learned early in childhood. So songs like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, the Happy Birthday song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, Yankee Doodle, Amazing Grace, Gilligan's Island, any song that pretty much everybody has been exposed to, especially if it's in early childhood or through TV or popular culture, will fit the bill. So you need to find something that everybody in the room knows. But that's not all. I read a study recently where researchers looked at a ton of different popular songs, rock and pop, and they tried to figure out which songs were the most easily recognizable tunes. And they did this by trying to find out how quickly people got what the tune was, like that old show, Name That Tune. And they found these are 10 of the top 20 that they listed. Wannabe by the Spice Girls was deemed to be the most easily recognizable tune, which was kind of shocking to me, but that's what they came up with. So anyway, we're gonna have Brod talk you through now a basic process. We know it works. We know a little bit about why it works, but how do you go about step by step teaching? We're coming up with a song to teach your kids, and then teaching that song to them so that they'll remember it. So Brod, I'll let you step in here and take it.
So I'm from the city of New Orleans, and if there used to be a furniture store called Rosenberg's, and their commercial was Rosenberg's, 1825 Tulane. So if you go to anybody in New Orleans that's over 50 years old, and you look at them and go, Rosenberg's, they will answer 1825 Tulane. It's in their brain forever. So if you pick a song first, actually, I don't know how to operate this screen, dude. Can you?
I will do that, Brod. You just tell me if you need me to advance it.
Okay, so advance it one, please. So I have a poem. Let's just do it all in global. I have a poem called "A Hard, Shiny, Malleable Object." I'm sorry, "A Hard, Shiny, Malleable Conductor." And Willie has chosen "I've Been Working on the Railroad" as the tune for that. And if you look at the text of the poem, the rhyme and rhythm structure pretty much works along with "I've been working on the railroad." If you're going to write your own original lyric, then you really have you can just pick whatever song you like and then write your lyric to fit it. If you're going to start with an original text that's not a lyric to a song and you want to convert it to a song, then you ought to get something that works a little bit with it. So how do you, if you're going to convert, how do you work with the rhythm of the lyric? Or how do you look at an existing song with an existing lyric and figure out what you're going to write instead? There's all kind of stuff about dactylic hexameters and iambic tetrameter and all of this stuff. You don't need to, I encourage you to learn that stuff, but you don't need to know any of it to be a master of rhythm. And all you have to do, and students especially like this, all you have to do is use what I call the da-da-da-da-das. So "I've been working on the railroad" is da, 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 and you actually use your whole body when you do it. If you want to actually write it out, you can just put every emphasized da as a capital D-A, every unemphasized da as an uncapitalized D-A. So da, 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 da. Now, the thing about this is, once you start doing that, your brain, once you actually start singing it with the da-da-das, your brain starts filling in the words that you want to say. So let's advance the screen, please. Willie, can we advance the screen? Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Go do it one more time, please.
There we go.
Okay, so this is a content lyric poem that's one of the poems I did in the Muse project, "A Hard, Shiny, Malleable Conductor." And this is basically the same rhythm rhyme scheme as "I've Been Working on the Railroad." It's close enough. So right now I'm going to talk to you about three things. These are the three things you need to be able to do to write a lyric, a content lyric for a song. I call it, you're going to rhyme backwards, you use the da-da-das, and you're going to name the baby. Rhyming backwards. If you look at this first stanza, "I'm a common kind of matter, though I have no hands or feet, but I can carry sine waves and also carry heat." Now that's not designed to be sung, but you'll notice that it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, feet, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I also carry heat. So if you want to write a stanza like that, the best way to do it is to write the last line first, and I also carry heat. Or I can carry sound waves and also carry. You either write the last line or the second, the third and fourth line first. Why is that? Because you need to rhyme backwards. English is a language that hates to rhyme. If you try to rhyme in English, the mathematical probabilities of writing line 1, writing line 2, seeing what sound you end with at the end of line 2, then writing lines 3 and 4, where the end of line 4 rhymes with line 2, the mathematical probability of succeeding with that are thousands to 1. It's just where you can actually say what you want to say, create the rhyme, and have the rhythm work too. So instead, you simply write it backwards. never, ever, ever start to write a stanza of a lyric or a poem that you intend to rhyme without writing the last two lines first. But I can carry sound waves and I also carry heat. So now I need to know I want to rhyme with heat. I'm a kind of man, though I have no hands or feet. Why did I have no hands or feet? Because feet rhymed with heat, and it worked well. And it's also not a terrible force. So step number one: when you write rhymes in a lyric or a poem, write backwards. Write the last line or the second to last and last lines first, then go back and write it. So now this is a conversion, but converting an existing lyric to "I've been working on the railroad." But this would work whether you were writing a lyric or not. So let's look at the first line. I'm a common kind of matter. Well, that works with "I've been working on the railroad." I'm a common kind of matter, though I have no hands and feet. That doesn't really work because "though" doesn't work. So if you're writing it with the da-da-das and you use your body, I was at a conference the other day in Washington State, and with all poets and songwriters, and I talked to them. We were just all sharing techniques that we use, and I talked about writing with my body, and apparently people didn't do that. Everybody kind of liked that idea. You actually write with your body. Say, I'm a kind of got no hands and feet. That works. I'm a common kind of matter. Got no hands and feet, or got no hands or feet, but I can carry sound. But I can carry sound waves doesn't work. But you can say, I can carry pretty sound waves and I also carry heat. I'm a kind of matter. Got no hands and feet. I can carry pretty sound waves and I also carry heat. So that works well. So what we're doing is you find an existing poem that you want to convert to a lyric, or you're making a lyric. You choose the song that you're going to use, convert it to rhythms that are da-da-das. When you make the rhyme, you rhyme backwards, and then you fit what you're saying, changing the poem, if you have an existing text, so that it fits with the da-da-das. And to do it, say the da-das out loud, sing them, and your brain will automatically fill in what you need. Let me see if I can give you an example of that. I get shiny when I'm polished, which is very nice. All right, so I get shiny when I'm polished. Da 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 da. Very nice to know. Oh, so nice to know. I get shiny when I'm polished. Oh, so nice to know. But I'm very hard, so kicking me. That's hard. I'm also very hard, so well, it might stub you a little, so I have to work on that one. But the point is, you use your body to make the rhyme. The last step is at naming the baby. So we talk about writing rhymes backwards, using da-da-das to fill in the language, and then finally naming the baby. If you're writing words for people to sing, to say, but especially to sing, it's got to really feel good when you say it for it to work to work as a smooth experience. The way you do that is you use there's a ton of complicated stuff involved in this, just all kinds of stuff. But the bottom line is really simple. You use all the skills that you once used, or that you always use when you decide on how to name a child. Think of people sitting around a table going, if the child's name is going to be Winston, well, it's a girl, Wilhelmina Winston. No, well, that's this. And you go through how it sounds and what the rhythm is and what connotations it has. So after you've written your lyric and after you've gotten the rhythm right, then you want to start tweaking it a little bit. Look for opportunities to make it really smooth and use all the kinds of skills you would use if you were naming a baby and not writing a lyric or a song. So you write rhymes backwards. You physically use da-da-das to say and sing what the sounds and rhythms that you want to create words for, and your brain will begin to create the words for them and make them fall in the right place. And then you polish it out and make it really, really nice by using the naming the baby techniques. Willie?
All right, so I know we need to wrap this up pretty quickly. So I'm going to skip this slide here and just say a few words about this one. We've spent our limited time that we have today so far talking about writing your own lyrics, putting them to songs, and then using those to teach content. The other great way to do this, and we don't have time to talk about it today, but we thought we definitely should mention it, is especially if you work with middle school through high school kids or college kids, is turn your students into singer-songwriters. Teach them the process that we've been talking about, give them an example, and then put them into groups, give them some content to work with, and turn them loose and let them choose their song, write their lyrics, and do a performance from each group. I always make them perform at least, you know, if there's only one kid in the group who's a great singer, that person can be the lead singer. Everybody else can be background singers or what else. But everybody has to participate. And usually you can get good content songs written by groups of secondary school students in 25 minutes or so, and then they can use those songs that they created to remember the content in the unit that you're teaching. So just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. That's a whole kind of workshop in itself, but it's a great approach. So just to kind of wrap up here, here's some contact information for me and for Brod as far as our websites go and email addresses, and we'd be happy to give those to anybody who wants them. But I'm going to go ahead and show this last slide and let Brod finish up here to say a few words about his Muse project once again. He talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but just to give you how you can get hold of those poems that he mentioned.
Yeah, the Muse project is simply something that I created to continue to inspire me to write. My goal is to write the entire science curriculum, poems, plays, monologues, and dialogues, and songs. The entire science curriculum, all of the uniform field theory, everything, not just the easy stuff, and real rich content, so that you could actually teach science without ever opening a science book. It's like a 15-year project, so I had to have teachers to inspire me. So I would send the work out as I did it. So if you write to museproject@brodbagert.com with the word yes in the reference line, you'll get the first 14 or 15 batches of these poems for free, 15 to 20 poems a batch, with a license to use them forever in your classroom. Eventually, these are actually, we're starting to produce product now, but you still get these for free and you can use them forever. So museproject@brodbagert.com will just really load you up with science content material that'll brighten up your classroom a little bit.
Okay, and just had one chat comment that I wanted to address, and then we'll be done, from Linda. Mentioned that the second verse of the Railroad song has a different melody. And yeah, that's something we should have mentioned. If you look at the lyrics and the tune of I've Been Working on a Railroad, which was our model tune, you'll notice that there's actually several different tunes throughout there. There's a chorus that has its own tune. You don't have to use everything from the song. So that's a point we probably should have made. Yeah, when Brod just happened to be reusing that same tune from the first couple of stanzas over and over again to do all the content from that poem, but and he did not use the chorus part of it. So you can use the whole song, or you can use any parts of the songs. I would just use the most recognizable parts of the song if you're just going to pick and choose. But yeah, don't feel like you have to use the entire tune and match everything, because that makes the task a little bit harder. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Willy and Brod. Great to hear from you.